everyone, it's Belinda Weaver here, and I'm being joined by Greg Reed. Hi, Greg.
Hello.
And in another episode, in my conversations with copywriters, I am talking to members of my Confident Copywriting group about their journeys as a copywriter, how they start, where they're up to, how they might have changed in the middle. And what I want to really showcase is what we sometimes see on social media is not what is happening behind the scenes, but also where we end up isn't always where we thought we'd end up, or certainly how we began. So, Greg, before we get started, can you introduce yourself to everyone here?
Sure. My name is Greg Reed. My company name is scribblingmadly.com, and I live in Portland, Maine, and I help clients in the higher education and learning and development space build their authority and expand their audiences.
Awesome. And how did you get started as a copywriter? We all have this kind of origin story. What was the moment where you went, yeah, I'm stopping that and I'm starting this?
Well, I'd help with that. I was a newspaper copy editor and a sports writer, and as one does in the 2010s, I got laid off with the loss of newspapers and things, and so I had to pivot pretty quickly. And so when I got laid off, I said, well, I can write snappy headlines and I can write informative copy. So copywriting seemed like a pretty logical step to take. So that's what I did.
Awesome. And what I love about that is in a lot of these chats and a lot of the conversations that are happening right now, we're hearing the pandemic hit and everything changed. And I feel like you and me were a bit old school because 2010 was when it started happening for me too. So we've been around, and the first time we were, we both had to kind of go, I am changing direction with this. And what was it that appealed to you? Like, you could have just figured out another job to go back into. So what appealed to you about being your own boss?
Well, I think a big part of it, Belinda, was I got to stay in Maine. Maine at that time and still today is not a terribly big market. Portland's a city of maybe 85,000. And I wanted to stay here for quality of life. My wife and I had moved from Virginia, Northern Virginia. So we moved up here to Maine to raise our kids. And I was planning on working at the newspapers until they were done with school or what have you. And that changed. So I thought, I could work from home, or I could, this is before working virtually was really a big thing, obviously.
Yeah.
And I thought I could work from home, and I worked from home, and I could, I could work. Clients could be anywhere, right? And that was the big impetus there.
And do you find you work more with clients in your area, or is it more global?
Well, I wouldn't say global, but it is national. I mean, I do have one international client, but it is far more national than it is local. Just because the kind of work I look for and sort of the market that I'm in, it's a much more of a national market.
Yeah, but it's that kind of idea. Like, I know when I started, I was like, right, I'm in Melbourne, so I'm going to kind of look in Melbourne and Victoria to kind of, because I'm familiar with it. And then it went to Australia. And then every now and then I'd get an international client as well. I found the idea of competing on a global level, although we're so connected now, I found that really intimidating. And so, I found thinking local in terms of my state and my country gave me more than enough work to keep me busy as well.
Right. Yeah, and that's if you're working with small businesses, that's really a smart way to do it, because you can have that blend of personal and online contact with people. But as I was saying earlier, the market that I'm interested in, I wanted to work with people who were already established in content marketing and copywriting, so I could learn from them, because I was so young in that point of my career. So I had to sort of leave the area to find folks I could learn from. In any way, it was easier to find folks out of town.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fair enough. And there is a lovely separation there as well, where you get to not be in everyone's face with your business.
Right.
Did you always work with higher education groups, or has your niche changed over the years?
My niche has sort of changed. I have the curse of the former journalist, which is I have interest in just about everything.
Yeah.
And I tend to pursue work if something catches my eye. I kind of have bright and shiny object disease sometimes. And so I would come in and out of education and go back and forth with education. And I'm in a phase right now where I'm actually working with someone in sports marketing, which goes way back to my college days. So it's a risk. It's a challenge sometimes focusing on one particular market.
What have you found as an impact or a benefit of choosing a couple of segments that you want to focus on?
I think you'll speak even just between like copywriting and content writing, right? You need to the biggest impact I found was once I started to focus on one or the other, I made deeper inroads into each market. And I think it's smarter to focus on one thing, one or two things, than to be all over the place and do a little bit of everything. Because if you find one or two subject areas, niches, formats, you'll really get into the nitty gritty there and draw out, be able to give people a lot more value a lot more sooner. So you'll be able to raise your rates and things.
But one thing we do always talk about is, you kind of got to try. Sometimes you got to try a lot of things and then go, okay, these are the kind of clients I like to work with. Or in your case, here are the industries I want to work with. But I know you were like, I actually want to work with all of these people. And we had a conversation about looking for the through line with those. And so sometimes you got to try something on and see if it fits.
Exactly. And the through line for me, Belinda, is I like to connect people with ideas. I don't like the idea of selling a certain product or a certain service. I like the idea of connecting people with ideas. And this is primarily in the education space. But, if I help someone find the right college or help someone find the right program, that's the through line for all of my. If you look back through all of my work, that's the through line there.
Yeah, and I love that you've been able to take that step back and look for the connecting piece, because it's not just an industry. Sometimes it's not just a style of copywriting or a project or an industry. Right. You've got to look back and see the Venn diagram of it all.
Exactly.
So what would you say your big challenges were when you were starting out?
Well, it was two things. It was that focus on either content or copy. And the second thing was finding work. This was back, Craigslist was still a thing. And I found an agency here. Actually, they were here in Maine, about 2 hours north of me, and they focused on pest control companies. So I was writing. I got in with them, and I was writing web content for, here's how to deal with termites, or it was.
We've all written that content,
right? So there's that sort of thing. So it's you do need to sort of try on different things when you start out, but once you latch onto something, it's smart to sort of dig deeper on it.
And so how did you get out of that? Because I know it's really hard when, especially if you said you found an agency, you're writing content all the time. How did you break out of that? Because how did you expand your lead generation to work with different types of clients and do different types of copywriting?
Well, education, online education was a big piece of that. And I was listening to your podcast with Kate Toon.
Yes.
And as you pursue, writers tend to always want to learn more about writing. And as I discovered your community, I think that was a huge boost for my ability to generate business and focus in on things, because there was a community there that people actually asked questions like, oh, that lead generation, that's a thing, and just to take a very common example, it's so much, the community you develop and you built is very nurturing and very open and very casual, which was really appealing to me. I mean, it was informative, but it was very casual. Yeah. And that's sort of how I like to work as well. So I really found a home in your community, and that has really helped me focus on what I need to focus on in my business.
I love it. And thank you for saying that about the community. But I love the fact that you've taken steps to go, this is not what I want to do anymore. So I am going to step out of my comfort zone, take a bit of a chance, do the marketing work that I need to reach out to the kind of clients that I want to. And change that, rather than staying in that I'm just churning out content about things that I'm not interested in at all because of the paycheck. It's a really tricky thing to do, that you have to take that moment seriously.
Absolutely.
And so how has your business changed since you're starting out, you're looking for work, you're writing content for pest control, compared to where you are now?
Let's see. I'd say it's like the confidence in my ability, and that comes back to, being in the same pond as other folks with the community like yours, and taking courses like confident copywriting, and really digging in and getting better at the better I got at my craft, the more confident I became, and
Yes.
the more confident I became, the more willing I was to sort of put myself out there and say, hey, why can't I work for you? Why can't I try? Why can't I pitch this person?
Yeah. And I'm assuming you're charging a little bit more.
A little bit more, a lot of it more.
Good.
In college, so I have to do that. So,
but I love that through line. You get better at your craft. You step out of your comfort zone. You build the confidence to keep doing those things, and then the knock-on effect is charging more, pitching people, being proactive, and getting the results as well.
Absolutely.
I love it. Now, what's exciting you right now? Like, what big goals have you got on your horizon? It could be 3 months, it could be 5 years. What's in the corner of your eye that you're working towards?
Well, I'm working on a website launch for my own website. I'm relaunching my own website in a few weeks. I'm going to talk to a guy tonight about email sequences, and that's exciting because I'm sort of winding down on a year-long community college rebrand project that I've been working on, and that is sort of sunsetting. So this will be a good chance for me to sort of pump out my own marketing content, see what I can generate, and see what that brings in.
Awesome. And when you're appealing to a specific industry, like higher education and stuff like that, you can make your brand look like it fits in that space, not blend into that space. But if you want to write for SaaS companies, you make your website feel like you know what that industry is like, and you can definitely do that. And so I love a good rebrand.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Work though.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Cool. Well, you make sure you share a link in Confident Copywriting when it's done.
I certainly will. I've got to get my email sequences together. I even have my lead generator, my PDF download. I've even got one of those put together.
Yes.
So that's a big hurdle for a lot of people.
Awesome. And whenever we do a website rebrand, it's just the next version. Mm-hmm. I think I'm on my 4th website, and it's just every time you do it, you feel a little more solid. You're stepping into a bigger space. You add layers like the lead gen and the emails and the list builders and everything. As I really think of it as like creating a bigger space to step into.
Absolutely. And perfection is an illusion, right?
Yes.
Nothing's ever going to be totally perfect, and you can't make you can't make perfection can't paralyze progress or something like that.
Yes, we
know that.
You
know it.
I know what you mean. Yeah, I feel it.
Just move forward. Be present yourself as best you can for right now, knowing that you're not done. Right?
Yeah, I love that advice. It's all the journey. Yeah. And so you mentioned confident copywriting already. I would love to end this chat with what's your favorite resource? Is there something in confident copywriting that you use all the time, or had a really big impact on you?
Well, one resource that I used had a really big impact on my business was your proposal template. I would say your templates, right? Your templates are fantastic. I used your template to land a year-long project with an insurance company, and the HR person said she made a point of saying, going over contracts is really it was a contract proposal sort of template.
Yeah.
So going over contracts is usually pretty dull and boring, but yours is actually really interesting to read because I took the personality you had injected and I tempered it to suit my voice and my needs. Yes. But it's much more human than I think of what a lot of people put together.
And that's how you stand out from all the other submissions and all the other pitches. You show up and you explain the value and you do it in your voice and you don't be boring. Love it.
You want to stand out. You don't want to be like everybody else. You don't be afraid of sounding too unprofessional or what have you. Use your own voice.
Yes, I love that. That's a great one to end on, Greg. Well, where can people find you? I've got your website here.
Yeah, you can find me at that website. You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm one of the Greg Reeds. There's like a million of us.
One of the Greg Reeds. I love that. You're the Greg Reed.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, that's my LinkedIn. And so there or at my website, sign up for my newsletter if you'd like.
Cool. What can people expect from the newsletter?
I'm sort of a grammar guy, and so I like to take a lighthearted look at grammar and punctuation and things. Like there's a website for apostrophe abuse, for example. So I dive into things like that, and just there's each one's going to have sort of a main topic, right? And then we'll have a little discussion about grammar or punctuation or something. And then I'm planning on listing resources and talking about some of the courses that I've taken, and sort of help people understand, what experiences I've had with these different tools and how they might be able to help them.
Awesome. All right. Well, I'm going to URL, sign up to it there if you're a word nerd, which we all are. And thank you so much, Greg. I will see you in Confident Copywriting, of course.
Okay, Belinda, thank you.
Cheers, Greg. Bye.